Good morning, here is another video. This is the character sketch for The Merchant of Venice, one of the prescribed set works for the play for grade 11s according to the South African CAPS curriculum. So there is quite a lot going on here, lots of dotted lines and solid lines and symbols. So I'm going to go through everything just to give you a brief overview of what is happening. There will be another video explaining the story roughly scene by scene, act by act. There are obviously going to be a few spoilers in this, so just keep that in mind. But let's go through all the characters. So, in the middle, obviously most importantly, we have Antonio and Shylock. I've represented Antonio by a boat and a heart, because he is quite a generous man, not really expecting any repayment or anything in return for loaning out money to people, etc. And also with ships, because he is a merchant and that's how he makes his money, sending ships to far off places, exchange of goods and money, and then bringing back things and then selling what people in Venice don't have or can't have easy access to. Then there is Shylock. You can see the contract that he's holding and the large bag of money. I thought of doing an R symbol because, you know, South Africa rands, but I'm not sure who all will be watching this, so I've gone with the conventional dollar sign. Shylock is Jewish. He is living in Venice. He's got another friend, Jewish friend, Tubal, and they are money lenders. And obviously there is a rivalry between him and Antonio, in the sense that Antonio is supposed to represent generosity and giving and Christianity, and Shylock is the representation of greed and self-interest and the Jewish people. So obviously if you read the notes on Merchant of Venice, there is prejudice and there is stereotyping and obviously anti-Semitism. But that also has a historical context when it comes to the Jewish people living in Europe. Above them we have Portia and Nerissa. Portia is depicted as having the three caskets, boxes, treasure chests, whichever you want to call it. There is silver, gold in the middle, and then lead on the opposite side. And obviously that's got to do with her father's dying wish that not just any man can marry his daughter, he has to choose the right casket. And the right casket is the one that has the picture of Portia. So she is a wealthy, rich heiress. Hello, Liza. And Nerissa is her lady-in-waiting, and I know sometimes we consider that as a servant, but it was a little bit more than that. Sometimes, you know, the ladies-in-waiting and the men-in-waiting were also confidants. You know, the wealthy people would take them into their confidence. They obviously knew a lot of what was going on. And I've depicted Nerissa with the ring because later on in the story, she and Portia give rings to the people that they love and have married as a symbol of commitment, and it also becomes quite important later on with the courtroom scene. Then following from Portia, we've got Bassanio. So Bassanio is friends with Antonio. Antonio has loaned money to him before. He's a little bit out of pocket and he loves Portia and wishes to woo her and try his hand at the caskets. There is a little bit of self-interest because he does say to Antonio that if this goes well, then I can repay all my debts. So obviously the money of Portia is quite important. Then we've got Gratinho. Yeah. Yeah, the names are a little bit tricky. And I've just put lines by his face because he's quite talkative and he's always got something to say and he takes forever to make his point. Adds a little bit of comic relief, but he goes along with Bassanio and actually ends up marrying Nerissa. So that's the situation over there. And then we've got the two friends underneath him, Solanio and Salarino, and all of these gentlemen are the friends of Antonio. Now, Solanio and Salarino, who I affectionately know as Sol and Celery, their specific duty I find in the play is to catch the readers and the audience up with what is happening. So if there's something that has happened off scene, generally their conversation is giving the update. If something else has happened or it's about midway through the play, then they also have another update of what has happened. So they are kind of the recap characters, if you want to call it that. Then next to them, you've got Lorenzo and Jessica. So this is also a little bit of a side romance going on because Jessica is Shylock's daughter. And Lorenzo has been pursuing her for some time, as far as we can make out from the play. And when she elopes with him, she also takes a vast amount of Shylock's money with her. And that also creates a bit of angst between everybody that has anything to do with Antonio. And that seems to be the common denominator for Shylock's problems, because it's a friend of Antonio who steals away his daughter. It's a friend of Antonio who wants the money. So that causes a bit of consternation. So I've represented Lorenzo with a mask because and his friends are holding identity with Bassanio, and as you a man wearing the mask disguise themselves, and Shylock's daughter Jessica then dresses up as a man, as a torchbearer, so somebody carrying the light that the gentlemen and the nobility would then use to further their revels. So that's the situation there. Then we've got Lancelot, and I've drawn him with a joker's cap. He is a servant of Shylock and bemoans his occupation and wishes for better, and Shylock's always got a problem with him and how he eats too much and lazy and doesn't work. But he gets on fairly well with Jessica, and Jessica asks him to deliver a letter to Lorenzo, and she wishes him well when she discovers that he's actually going to work for Bassanio. And of course, this happens when Bassanio comes to collect the money from Shylock, finds him gone, listens to Lancelot's grievances, and then says, "Come and work for me." Then at the top, we've got the Prince of Morocco and the Prince of Aragon. So these are two of the many princes who have come to woo Portia. And early on in the play, there are 6 gentlemen who decide not to make a choice. So they are not bound by the rules, but they've obviously spent time there, enjoyed the hospitality and the food of Portia, but they decide to leave. So the Prince of Morocco is the first one to make an actual choice. He chooses the gold casket, and his reasoning is that gold is something everyone desires. And obviously, Portia is a woman to be desired. Therefore, that must be the right box. But it's not. It's got a skull inside of it. And the whole purpose of the scroll, explaining why it's the wrong choice, is saying that gold is common, people have followed it to their deaths, and basically this is now what's going to happen to the Prince of Morocco. He thought that the gold was the be-all and end-all, but that is not always the case, tying in with the theme of appearance and reality. And then we've got the Prince of Aragon, who chooses the silver casket, and he says, gold is very common, and Portia's not common. So I'm going to go with silver, because if I deserve her, then fate and fortune will give her to me. Obviously, there's a little bit of presumption there. Maybe an underlying thought of, seeing as I'm working this all out, then, this must work for me. But within the casket is a picture of an idiot, a clown, a fool, a jester, and it's mocking him. Okay, he thought he knew better, but he's just as simple as the person who came before. So that's the situation there. Obviously, the lead box is the right box because on its inscription says, "Whoever chooses me risks everything." And that's why Basinio picks it, because he realizes that he's got nothing to offer. He's risking all by entering into this agreement, choosing a casket, but he feels that Portia is worth it. And obviously, the picture of Portia is inside the lead box, and he then gets her as his wife. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just the characters, how I've depicted them, and also when I do the summary of the play, then at least you know who is who. Okay, thank you very much.